Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Curt Covert. I'm the owner of Smirky Games, and welcome to another edition of Smirky Inside. Actually, I should pop this up. Hey, sorry I'm running late. I got jammed up and I hadn't finished actually creating the slides for my top 20. So sorry for the delay, but yeah, took just a little time. So couple updates. Let's see what's going on. Well, we are hard at work, as you know, on our video for the upcoming game, The Spill. So I've now talked with the production company who's going to be helping me turn my crazy storyboard from last time into a real visual reality. Hopefully making it even better than I foresaw. We're still waiting word on the Night Cage, and again, it's in port. It's just a matter of how long it takes to unload those boats, get them on trucks, and get them over to our warehouses in the various places around the world. So I have not received any updates that I can quantify. So hopefully soon. I suspect in the next week or two, we'll be able to have some exciting news on that front. And of course, we're just, developing other games as we go. I was at a local retailer doing a great playtest and, prototype session with the employees the other night here locally in Connecticut. And had a great time. We're testing even some new content for The Spill, which may become part of the game. We'll have to see, but we're at least looking into maybe some new characters. So all exciting stuff. But today, what I'm going to be doing, and let me roll over to the comments, see if anyone's out there with me yet. Not yet. Okay. But what we're going to be doing today is taking a look back into the past history of Cutthroat Caverns. Someone asked me when I was at the store, actually, the other day, they were like, well, all right, so how many encounters are there in Cutthroat Caverns at this point? And there are, I think, over 120 different encounters in the game at this point. And of course, I love them all, but there are a few that really stand out, either just because they do amazing things that I absolutely love, or they will really kind of break out. They were kind of just new stuff. And at the end, it may surprise you to find out like where a lot of my favorites now kind of reside. Hey, Brad, how are you? Thanks for joining us. Yeah, it's interesting. Of course, all the encounters in Cutthroat Caverns are designed to make you behave badly. They're little honey traps that set you up and taunt you a little bit. It's better not to take their bait, but of course, it's a game about doing despicable things and getting rewarded for it. So eventually you're going to succumb and take the bait. So let's talk about some of the great ones. So let me get my screen back over here. Our top 20. So starting at number 20 then, and actually before I go into it, I should just say, Cutthroat Caverns, for those of you who are watching but have not played Cutthroat Caverns is obviously it's kind of a dungeon delving game where you're trying to escape the dungeon with this priceless relic, kind of like the One Ring in Lord of the Rings. Like, you'll do anything to get it. And so you're going to have to work together just to survive the dungeon. But of course, only the person with the most prestige or the one person who's still alive will end up gaining that one whole, amazing relic. So you have to make sure that's you. And if the others have to fall, if you have to trip them or stab them in the back to make sure that person is you, you're going to do it. So that's the general idea of the game. And of course, the game really comes to life because of the encounters that it has. And each one is kind of like a mini game. So at the top of my list then, number 20. Oops, let me get over here. Come on. There we go. Okay, so I've chosen War as my 20 top 20 pick, and you may have lots of others in the list. And if you've got different ideas, if you want to shout out a couple favorites, go ahead and do it. I'm up for the debate. But War is one of the incarnations, which typically are some of the more powerful creatures in the game. This one comes from Death Incarnate, our fifth and our most recent expansion. This one I love because what it does is it really encourages player versus player attacks, which doesn't happen a lot this game. A lot of Cutthroat Caverns is it's almost passive aggression. You're letting creatures sneak in and do more damage to other players. But in this case, you're placing a +1 prestige token on War for each player. And you get to add one at the beginning of every combat round, each time an action card gets played. And that's all the kind of the nasty, take that cards. When you reveal that attack, you choose to attack War or to attack another player instead. You can actually do that with War. And if you do, you're going to discard the attack. It's not going to hurt War at all, but instead you're going to do some amount of damage, based on that attack strength. So like an attack 75 or more, you're going to do 20 points of damage to a player, which could be critical. Whereas attacks like 5 to 20, you're just doing like a 5-point hit. Obviously, this gets really dicey, especially when you can gain a +1 prestige token for every 5 life points that you assign to another player in this way. It is like a grab for prestige. All the while, War is loving it because you are destroying each other and it is staying alive, which, of course, is the beautiful honey trap in this. Firestorm, I see Jonathan is out there. Jonathan, by the way, the designer and creator of a lot of the content for Death Incarnate. Basically, that was his baby, his expansion, and he came up with so many amazing, fresh ideas for the game. This is, of course, one of them. Let's take a look at some other stuff. Number 19. So number 19, we're going to go to Tombs and Tomes, which is our third expansion. This is one that I chose because it does something very different that we hadn't done with an encounter, and that is give a different effect to people based on the initiative card they drew. So in this case, Malicious Imps is going to attack all players for 5 points of damage, but then based on the initiative draw that it took, to assign you that damage, you're going to take a look now. Like the first player, they're going to lose their turn. Someone is going to discard a card at random. Someone's going to lose 10 life points, attack for half damage, discard 2 cards at random, or lose 15 more life points. So it's kind of neat because now when that initiative card drops, you just don't know how bad it's going to be. Yeah, I want to swing first, but I also don't want to be in the last row for initiative because it's even worse as you get higher and higher. So, of course, with more players, it's also more deadly, which is another nice balancing act. So I really enjoyed this one. Obviously, the art background that you see, we have not updated Tombs and Tomes at this point. They're still fully compatible. You can, they all have the same back, so you can still play with them. But we have not, updated the fronts of those cards and reprinted. And I don't know. We'll have to see. We still have a bunch of those in the warehouse, so I'm not sure, how quickly that'll get done. But maybe we'll do a big box at some point. I don't know. All right, let's see. Number 18. So number 18 is from Relics and Ruins, expansion 2, and it is Mercury. Let's try that again. Mercury. What's great about this is it's another really interesting mechanic. So you end up with these tokens, and I should have put the tokens actually in the slide here, but there is a large Mercury blob, and it has a certain amount of life points assigned to it, and when you kill it, it doesn't actually go away. It splits into two medium blobs. And if you attack a medium blob and you split it, it goes into two small blobs with its own different life points. So like it might be like 25 for a 3-player game. It's like 25 life points for the small, 50 for the medium, 100 for the large one. Of course, it scales up with the more players. But you can only actually kill and remove from play the small ones. And if there are two small or two medium at the end of the round, they reform into the next size up again. So it's not enough to just spread them out. You have to eliminate them or they reform. It's a maniacal, wonderful encounter. It is super hard. It is super deadly. And I think that's why it remains one of my favorites. Jonathan goes out there. He's like, shudder, Mercury. And because he knows as well as I do that, man, when this hits the table, groans start around the table because it's just that hard. It takes a little momentum to get it to get rolling. So in any case, that is my number 18. Let's see. So far, no one is offering their favorites, wondering where they're going to fall. Any predictions for number 17? Any predictions for number 1? Anyway, here we go to number 17. Also from Relics and Ruin is number 17. This is Gluttony. Now, Gluttony, I think, is interesting because normally your hand size is 7. That's a hard cap. But with Gluttony, of course, you can just keep on drawing cards. And your hand size can go to a maximum of 14. What's great about that is that for each card drawn in excess, you end up giving Gluttony 5 more points. And at the end of the round, Gluttony is going to attack the player holding the most cards, which is also kind of fun. But what's terrific is that at the end of, let's say Gluttony is getting close to being killed. Well, Gluttony is worth 4 prestige. That's pretty decent in this game. So all of a sudden he's down to 25 life. And if I haven't killed it, man, you know what? I don't think I'm going to this round. I'm going to draw a whole mess of cards and bring the life points way up. And now the person after me is definitely not going to kill it. Again, hoping that it gets around to me so I can land the final killing blow and gain all the prestige. So this one very often just keeps on staying alive because we artificially keep it alive. And of course, that's the fun of Cutthroat Caverns. You are just damning yourselves. It's a lot of fun. Norman loves this one. I can't agree more, Norman. It's terrific. Jonathan's like, I don't want to spoil what I think number 1 is. Well, we will see. You know what? It was hard to pick number 1. It really was. All right. So moving on, number 16. Death Incarnate, expansion 5. Again, hits the list with Pride, another incarnation. And of course, Death Incarnate, they're all incarnations, and that's kind of the cool thing about expansion 5. So they're all intended to be pretty tough. One thing I love about this, and this is something that kind of happened with boss monsters too. If you reveal a monster too early, in this case Pride, it does something and then it kind of buries itself. And it makes for a more narratively exciting game. So in this case, if Pride is revealed before encounter number 4, don't encounter Pride. Drop them 3 cards down in the encounter stack, and Pride strikes for 5 life points for each point of prestige you have, to a minimum of 5. And what's great about that is it's going to be targeting the leader, which is a lot of fun for everybody because people really enjoy, seeing them get their comeuppance. And to help relieve the pressure and throw the heat off of the person once you encounter Pride, before your attack, you can offer another player one of your prestige, and if they accept, you gain 10 life. and they get closer to being the target for pride. And all of a sudden, people are starting to wheel and deal on how much prestige they have. Now, again, it's destined to be kind of a mid-game card. So, you're not giving away the points you need definitely it's going to make or break your win of the game. But now you're using them to help target how hurt you're going to get, or how you can kind of just share the love. It's just a lot of really interesting decision making that happens, especially for the leader in this case. All right, so let's now move on. Okay, yeah, thank you, everybody. You went ahead and let me know that my mic was off, so it looks like we are still live, but had an audio problem. We should be back. Okay, great. Well, so let's now move forward. Hey there, Cable. Thank you for letting me know. Glad you're here. All right, so now we're going to take a look at 15. Get over to it. Come on, you. I'm having a little problem on my preview window. Well, that's odd. Now? All right, stand by. I got another little glitch here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Hey. I'm going to figure this out over here. This shouldn't take any time at all, but okay. Looks like I'm back up. It's really weird. I wonder why that happened. Okay, ready to share my screen again. Going to the window and okay, sorry about that. I think we are all back together. Number 15, yes, is Temptation from Relics and Ruin. I really loved the art on this one, by the way, by David Bolt. This one is fun because Relics and Ruin is where we introduced the whole concept of relic cards, and it's where we first introduced event cards as well. But Relics really, really changed the game, I think, for the better. It really made it a much more interesting game as a result. And this was one of the first monsters that had the most fun with the relics. So here you draw 3 relic cards and you place them face up next to Temptation. Now, normally you can only get relic cards through the event deck, but here it was an encounter way to get them. So a player who successfully plays a trip, edge out, critical miss, human shield, my hero, or I think he called you ugly too, you can take one of the relics and then you replace it with a new relic card. So this is really cool. It really encourages you to play all the nasty blue cards. You're not just saving them now for like the best time to get the kill, right? Now you're just playing them kind of willy-nilly just to mess with people so that you can get all these cool relic cards. Now, then Temptation attacks the player with the most life points, doing 15 damage. And if they're tied, all those tied players get attacked. So while you are in the mad grab trying to get the most powerful relics you can as this is happening, the leaders are getting hit hard. So if you don't start actually letting those attacks through, you're going to take a big punishment. But the player on the bottom of the totem pole is not so sad about that and really cashing in. I absolutely love that. Oh, Heather's here. Hey, Heather, good to see you. Heather says, I love mischief. And I think it's from Deeper and Darker. And I think you are right about that. It might indeed be mischief is from Deeper and Darker. We'll see if that is on our list. Okay, so moving on. Okay, number 14 is again from Death Incarnate, and this is Envy. Envy is another one that really puts an interesting decision on, what you want to gain and how. So the player who wounds Envy for the most damage, okay, they have to sacrifice 12 points. So this is not Envy attacking you. You are sacrificing 25 points from hitting Envy the hardest. And then you steal any item, any relic, reputation, which comes from fresh meat, or actually prestige from a kill. You steal that from another player and take the damage for doing it. Unless the player being stolen from is so hell-bent on keeping whatever you're trying to steal that they decide they're going to sacrifice that 25 points themselves. which is great. So let's see. Heather says, that's just what I remember playing and messing with everyone else because I had a crap hand and passed it and got a great one. Oh, so that's the mischief. Yes. Jonathan says the table talk with Envy is fantastic. Yes, there's a lot of negotiating. There's a lot of threatening that happens. Envy is just one of those great cards that just ups the energy at the table and potentially gets you something really cool that you had been kind of envious of, true to its name. And let's see. So number 14, let's take a look at number 14. Number 13 now. Death Incarnate again is Deceit. So in this case, this is another incarnation. It's 4 prestige. And instead of revealing your set attack card, you're just going to tell us what it is. And you're going to tell us whether it's protected or not. And people are going to either have to trust you or disbelieve you. Now, that could be anything. You could say, I'm going to kill it for 100 points, or you're just going to say it's a protected attack, or whatever you want to say it is. Now, another player can go ahead and challenge you on that announced card. If they do, you have to reveal it. The great part is, if you're being deceitful, if you lied, right, the card is discarded without effect, and that player takes a -1 prestige. And the person you challenged gets a +1 prestige. Otherwise, if you called it out and you're wrong, if you were saying the truth, then the challenger gets the negative prestige and you gain 1. So this is just oh no, I'm sorry, you don't gain 1. They just lose 1. But the great part of this is that you really just there are not a lot of cards in the game that directly interact with your prestige. Death Incarnate kind of flipped that on its ear. That was one of the things that that Jonathan definitely explored in some of these new cards. And we saw, War kind of does that a bit too. So these are just really interesting new wrinkles in the game. And I just love that. So are you going to risk challenging someone even though you might lose prestige, or you might even gain 1 for if you really catch them in a lie? So just the meta game is just super great. Heather says Death Incarnate seems to be an overall favorite. Well, there are a lot of really interesting and powerful cards in Death Incarnate, but they're not all from there. Let's see what number 12 is. All the way back to the base game, here shown with the anniversary art. This is Spite, though another incarnation. So Spite is, from the base game, one of the more difficult cards that you can encounter, and it has a place in my heart just because it's just one of those original cards that just keeps on delivering every time it hits the tables. But a new player comes to the game, and it still delivers the heavy hit just like we wanted it to. At the end of the round, Spite strikes the player who wounded her for the most damage or tied. So, if you're swinging hard, you are going to be targeted. But the attack card that is doing that damage gets removed. Spite isn't even bothered by that card or cards. So it's a really hard encounter, and it really, if you want to stay alive, if this comes up towards the end of the game and you have only so much life, you do not want to swing hard, and that's what Spite wants. She doesn't want to be really hit at all if she can, help it. So this is just one of those power cards I just absolutely love. Hopefully it's one of your favorites too, it just tickles me when it hits the table. Moving to number 11, Minecart Madness. Now, this is an interesting one. It's probably not on everyone's list, but I absolutely love it. It is from Fresh Meat, our 4th expansion. And this is one of the non-combat encounters, which means that we're not actually swinging a sword. All these are little mini games in the end, and the non-combat encounters feel the most like mini games. And I think this is the one of the non-combats that I think really just transports me to like a different mood, a different experience for the game. It's a race. You guys have decided to race for prestige. You find these mine cars and these abandoned tracks. You're going to hop in and you're going to catapult yourself at breakneck speeds, trying to win the race, but not have your car fly off the tracks. So basically, you're creating a racetrack of your own track of 100 points. That's the kind of the break point. If you get to 100 points of your earned cards that you end up playing, you end up winning. But as you set your attacks normally, when a player's attack has a value of 25 or more, you got to flip a coin, and that's why we keep these coins still in the box. If it's 50 or more, you have to flip it twice. So heads, you're still in the race, and tails, you fly off the track and sacrifice 20 life. So that's a pretty tough hit as well. Now, Human Shield, My Hero, Counter-Strike, or Critical Miss can only be played as rally cards. They can add, and rally cards can add 20 to a player's attack value. But you can also slow people down with those blue action cards. The winner is the first to reach the finish line having done 100 points of damage, gone 100 yards, or be the last player left in the race because everyone else flew off the track and took 20 damage. It absolutely transports you into this much more humorous side of Cutthroat Caverns. All those diabolical cards, Human Shield, Counter-Strike, all of those things that you're just messing with people. Now they're all rally cards adding to a player's value. And if you add to someone else's speed, right, you're doing an extra 20 points of speed to them. They may fly off the track and have to flip 2 coins, right? So it's just a lot of new ways to use those cards and mess with people. And I just think it's hysterical. I love when it comes up. All right, we are to number 10. Number 10 is the Death Drinker. Death Drinker, also from Fresh Meat, our 4th expansion. This is one of those boss encounters that I mentioned, and I absolutely love boss encounters because they go booga booga when you first find them, and then they drop to the bottom of the deck. You're gonna have to face them, but now it's going to be your last encounter, and you have to kind of plan with that thought in your head. So the first thing is you're going to put this at the bottom of the encounter stack, and the player with the highest life points or tied loses 20 life. So, just in the narrative arc of the game, anytime you see one of those bosses, they come out, they do something horrible, and then you have to deal with them later in the movie or the book, or whatever, right? Same thing here. So leaders take 20 damage. Then, when it's the last encounter, the drinker attacks the player with the lowest life points or tied. And if a player dies, you add 50 life points to the Death Drinker. What's great about this is obviously this is a game where it's possible for everyone to die, everyone to lose. And if you are facing this creature, especially if it's a 6-player game, it's got 350 life points. Let's say you even lost a player or two beforehand and you're swinging at a disadvantage because you may not have enough firepower. Now it's going after the people with the least life. It's targeting them specifically to call your group down and make you pay. So you may end up losing the game because you didn't keep people alive long enough. Now, you got the warning because you saw it come up. It, flashed its intention. You know what you're going to face at the end. But is it too late to avert that problem? Like if you encountered it round 7, it may be too late already. In any case, I think this is just a really great design of a card that is designed to really punish players for not working together. So enjoy that. We're moving to number 9. Okay, back to our base game and the Boogans. Again, here with the Anniversary Edition artwork on it. The Boogans was one of our first 2 token creature fights. And what I love about this is that, yeah, the creatures, they're very weak. And even the chieftain, he's only got 50 life points. Everyone is like, oh, this is going to be easy. And they really underestimate the Boogans to their disadvantage because, man, when you have potentially 2, 3, of the Boogans smacking you for 5 at the end of every round, particularly if someone is then messing with you and preventing some of your attacks, you are taking a lot of damage. I've seen people go from 100 life down to 50 just facing the Boogans, and it is not to be messed with. For that reason, honestly, the name, the fact it's a great token encounter, the fact that it can be more deadly than it seems is one of the reasons that this remains. It's in my top 10. I absolutely love the Boogans when it hits the table. It's one of the ones I always teach, by the way, too, because I think it showcases really well. So have we seen your top 5 yet? I'd love to see what some of the top 5 are for you guys as we get closer and closer. So let's go to number 7 on my list. Oops. Okay. This is number 7, even though it says number 8. So Hate. Again, from the base game. A lot of the base game creatures were pretty awesome. There are a couple that, weren't as strong. Hate was not one of them. Hate is a terrific one. Jonathan says that Pride's in your top 5. Nice. Okay. Well, we will see where that falls. So Hate's wonderful because you don't have to encounter Hate at all. This is one of those honey traps that is set up so wonderfully. It almost always is encountered, but it's one that no one ever has to encounter, because what you're going to do is you're going to discard secretly a card from your hand when you first encounter Hate. Then we're going to flip those cards over, and Hate gains life points equal to the total value of all the attacks that you discarded. So if the total is 0, if no one actually put high-powered cards down, cool. It just ends and we don't have to deal with Hate. But if not, the player who discarded the highest card becomes player number 1 and gets to swing first. And this is worth 5 prestige, which is kind of high. So somebody's going to do it, which means that more than one person is going to do it. And the problem is that it's going to do damage equal to its life points as it starts, right? So if you load this thing up with 100 life points, it's going to be swinging for 100 life points. This means a lot of player death potentially, and I think it is hysterical when people choke on their own plans like that. Heather says, oh yeah, I like Hate as an encounter. It separates those who are cooperating versus those who are backstabby. It absolutely does. And you get to see people's true colors. this is just, it's one that I always just laugh hysterically when I see people play this, and I'm sitting back and I'm enjoying the show as we watch how they handle this creature. Anyway, it looks gorgeous with the new artwork from Martin. So anyway, that is my number 7. Let's go to. I think did I screw these up? Somehow these are misnumbered. But the next one up is Anguish. Okay, so Anguish, again from Death Incarnate, another incarnation worth 3 prestige. When Anguish strikes a player, place a -1 prestige token on that player. So this thing damages you with negative prestige. Okay? That's horrible in this game. That's the whole reason you're playing, is to gain the prestige. So then you're going to get 5 damage per -1 token that you've accumulated through the encounter with Anguish. So every time you get hit, not only do you get a -1 prestige, but you're adding to the damage every time you get hit. So the next time you get hit and you've got 2 tokens on you, it's a -10. You get a third one, you're -3 prestige, and it's hitting you for 15. It's horrible. It's just terrible. So what is the fun honey trap here? Well, if you are swinging for 50 damage or more on Anguish, really trying to knock this thing down, and again, it starts with high life points. You can get rid of that card. You can just discard it. Decide, I'm not going to swing at Anguish, right? You then remove 2 -1 prestige tokens that you gained through the encounter with Anguish. So you're helping Anguish stay alive longer. You're getting rid of that negative prestige that you've just earned, but you are no longer helping kill this thing. Here's the really horrible part. This thing is swinging at a lot of players. If you're playing with 6 different players, it's hitting players 1, 2, and 3. Half the party is getting hit. This thing can get deadly on your prestige and your health very quickly, especially if you are not doing your part and are dumping high damaging cards to get rid of that negative prestige. Super funny. I love it. Anytime there's a card that creates hilarious moments of betrayal, I just think, yes, work in your own best interest. Let's giggle all the way home. Okay. Number 6, Fortune. Okay, so Fortune is again from Death Incarnate. Yes, you are seeing a trend, by the way, Heather. Quite a lot of these are coming from that expansion. Fortune is amazing because we did like this whole crazy in-depth mini game that it's not just this encounter impacts, it's the entire game after you encounter Fortune. And what you end up doing, there's a 13 card deck. Base is it 13? It might even be 26. I don't remember how many there are. There are a mess of these Fortune cards, which are all kind of based on the tarot. And you end up sorting 13 of them aside and shuffling and creating a stack. So when you move on to the next encounter, right, you don't have to deal with Fortune as an attack-based encounter right now. That we'll save for later. But when you move on to the next encounter, for the rest of the game, when you reveal a set attack card that's going to deal damage, you may, if you wish, draw a Fortune card at random from that deck. And you immediately take the effect of that card. But there's both a good and a bad portion of that card. Let me show you an example. So here is Judgment. Now you read the type that comes up as you flip it over. Whatever type you can read right side up is the effect. So in this case, it would be Judgment. Any player who does more damage than you this round forces you to sacrifice 10 life or a card from your hand. Well, that's a pretty interesting effect. Now it makes me want to really swing hard. because if people do more damage than me, I'm going to be losing life or cards from my hand. But if I flipped it the other way, any player who does less damage this encounter than me loses 10 life. So now I definitely want to swing hard, because anyone who gets who swings less hard, if I dropped 100 and everyone else comes in lower than that, they're all losing 10 life. I'm chipping them all down. But now people are like, dude, no, don't swing that hard. We've got you covered. We'll take the heavy hits, and you can decide whether you want to be a jerk or not. It's just, all these things are just fun new wrinkles that now you're going to deal with for this particular encounter. But you don't have to draw one, right? That's the beauty. Well, here's the thing. At the end of the game, let's see. There's the world card in there too. If you draw the world, you end up getting what is it now? Right. Okay, this is the other important part. So for every fortune card that you do draw, right, regardless of whether it's good or bad, the fortune card gets a +1 prestige. So when you draw the world card, you end up getting all the prestige that fortune has accumulated. It could be a really rich payoff if fortune gets revealed early in the game. You want fortune to come early. But if you have not drawn the world in time, if it's still in that deck because people are like, ooh, I don't want all that bad luck coming my way, then you end up having to fight fortune at the end of the game. And she's got 50 life points and strikes all players for 5 life points per undrawn fortune card still left in the deck. So if you decide you get too scared by all these fortune cards because all their potential negative effects that maybe happen, maybe don't, maybe it's a good thing, you're going to have a very tough encounter at the end of the game. So I love the impact on the game. I think it's always interesting. It changes things up. Even later in the game, new encounters become different based on the fortune cards that got played if you decided to take one. So super fun. Love it. Okay, moving on. We are now at the top 5. So hopefully you have your top 5 lists handy. Did your card already get mentioned? Is it yet to be mentioned? Let's see if you are in the top 5. Archmages from the base game. Archmages, just again, it holds a special place in my heart because I love the impact of what this does and the strategies that people come up with based on their current situation in the game. I think this one has the ability to really be used as a tool to target people, target the leaders, or quite honestly, the other great thing is this is one of those encounters where it really underscores the fact that if you do not work together, if we cannot find a way to cooperate, we will all die. Now, that is part of the game. And this is the encounter that really, really makes it very obvious. So it will always be in my top 5, I think. Jonathan's like, ha, called that one. So, all right. So you saw it coming. Great. Chris Canary, actually, interesting. He says, love the new art for Archmages too. Interestingly enough, Chris, this is the original art that was done. So this was art that was done by Ian, I believe. And the only thing that's changed is really the template for the card, but the illustration is right from that original card. Although it now showcases much more nicely now that it's a full bleed image. So, but here's what I love about the chain lightning effect that Archmages had. One of the few cards actually names its effect for whatever reason. Each attack that wounds the Archmages must do more damage than the previous wound that it took. And if not, that attack misses and the round ends. So we have to talk about this, right? We can't specifically mention what cards we're putting down, but I can tell you as first player, I'm doing as well as I can for a first player move, meaning I probably either have a 0 or a 5 if I'm doing the best I can. Or if I only had 30s, I might say, guys, I'm sorry. I'm coming in about midway. You're just going to have to swing harder. That's the kind of communication you can have, and you have to have it, because the violating attack and all players who lost their turn as a result of not doing it, they're all getting struck for 15 points. All their attacks are gone. They're not getting to swing. So if player number 2 in a 6-player game swings and can't beat the 75 pointer that the player number 1 put down, we're all getting hit for 15, and none of us are swinging. Archmages lives longer, and I just burned the rest of the party for 15. It tastes sweet. But if I'm not trying to kill you, this is also devastating. I just don't have the cards. I'm sorry, guys. There's nothing I can do. And the last 2 players are getting burned. So it's a hard encounter. It is an amazing tool encounter. If you are really looking for a total player kill, and this comes up late, man, depending on your initiative, you can really, really take it to the other players. So let's see. Jonathan's making predictions. 3 out of the 4 remaining. Oh, interesting. All right, he's made some predictions. He's seeing Gasbag out there, Death, and Werebore. Well, those are good guesses, so we will see where they fall. Okay. In any case, we are moving on our list here. Love Archmages, number 4 is Death. Jonathan, you called this. It is in my top 5. Absolutely. Death, again, is from Death Incarnate Expansion 5. This is another boss encounter. You place this card at the bottom of the encounter stack. All players discard their hands and redraw 6 cards for the next encounter. That's the booga booga part. And if you've been saving your cards, a lot of people like stockpile. They are gone, right? Sorry, you are just not going to have access to them. You have to redraw a random new hand. So here's the thing. Once you face Death, if a critical hit is revealed as an attack, the round ends. Okay? The damage stack is discarded without doing damage, and Death gains 100 life points. There's no swinging a big hit on Death. You're just helping him out. And when Death strikes a player, if that player has cards in their hand, they have to discard their entire hand. The rest of their hand is gone. If they don't have any cards, let's say they were hit already last turn, they just have 1 card left and they placed it face down for their attack, no cards in hand, they flat out die. I love how brutal this is. And again, a 6-player game, it's a 400-point creature. It's striking the top 3 players. Player 1, 2, and 3 are getting hit. It is just so dramatic. It is absolutely deserving of the Death Shroud. It does what it does so well. I can't be more excited for a creature than when this creature comes out. Except yet, how is it not my number 1? It could be, quite honestly. But like I said, these top 5 were very, very hard because they are all, I think, just game changers when they hit the table. But my number 3, Shadow Morph, is a surprise. Okay, why? First of all, this is brand new to the base game, the Anniversary Edition. It was not part of the original base game. It's something that was developed just for the Anniversary Edition. And Shadow Morph is worth 4 prestige. And here's one of the things that I really like about this card. The target of Shadow Morph's attack can discard any protected attack card from their hand. Doesn't even have to be, their own, right? If they do, they can redirect the damage back to Shadow Morph, right? So that 10 points of damage can be reassessed back on the creature itself, or I can send it to the pictured player on that protected attack card. So it's another one where we can actually impact other players. There is no there's no limit on the number of redirects. And this is why I love the card, because all of a sudden now we can see this 10-point damage just running around the table as people are discarding all of these wonderful protected attack cards, some of which people will hoard so other people don't get their cards back into their hand. And now this hit is just ping-ponging, and you directed it at me, cool, I'm going to direct it at this one, or maybe back to you. And I just think the impact at the table, it's filled with laughter every single time. I absolutely love it. So Shadow Morph took my number 3 position. I love this question, Heather. Thank you for asking it. Has anyone ever won a game of Cutthroat Caverns? Just curious, because we haven't won in my household without fudging, aka cheating, when we come close. The answer is yes. Many people have won this game. What this means is that you have a very dastardly group that you are playing with. And you just have to heed the fact that teamwork is a part of this game, and all the really backstabby stuff typically happens, or should happen, towards the end. And usually it's like in the beginning and in the end, less in the middle where you're not sure if you're going to make it. Okay, so let's see. Moving on to my next. Number 2, Cursed Goblin. This is from the first expansion. Well, it's expansion number 2, right? It's this. It's expansion 1, really, but it's the second product we came out with. So that's a typo. In any case, Deeper and Darker. Basically, it was 15 new encounters for the game, but it includes 2 of my favorites. One of which did not make the cut into this list, which is the dragon from that set. But Cursed Goblin is wonderful because I absolutely love the impact of this on the table. This is so deceivingly dangerous. Cursed Goblin is healed instead of damage every other time points of damage are done to it. And I love the flavor text on here. Some dark wizard thought having a constant kicking boy would be funny. It wasn't. Because what will happen is someone will do something that you didn't expect. Either maybe they faint, so they're not doing damage when you thought they would be. Maybe someone is like, I don't want you to kill that creature. I critical miss you, and therefore your attack doesn't take place. Somehow or other, we all know first through last who is going to be hitting and who's going to be healing. But once you interrupt the flow, depending on how many people are coming, you could all of a sudden be adding a lot of life points to this creature. And it is absolutely hysterical to watch people who are now powerless based on this misplay that maybe happened, and now cursing the fact that, why did you do that? No, stop adding points to this thing, guys. And it's just great. And of course, that means all the attacks that are supposed to be damaging it are doing nothing or very little. It's hysterical. I love it. Cursed Goblin is my number 2. And Heather says that this is part of the patter when they sell the game. And Heather has a lot of success with Cutthroat Caverns at Ren Fair shows that she attends and sells our games at. So I'm delighted that that's part of the patter. It remains one of my favorite creatures ever. So number 1, has everyone kind of guessed where I'm going with this one? I bet you have. I bet you know what this is. I know that Jonathan has sussed it out because he's already posted his list. I'm gonna read his list in a moment. What is your number 1? Do you have any thoughts? We're right down to the bottom of this list. So here we go. Oh, let's see. Heather also says that she has a very dastardly son. We actually describe the game literally as 20% backstabby, unless you're playing with my son, and then it's 40%. That's a great comment. Okay. All right. Our number one creature on my list is the Werebore. So, Werebore is one of the cards that was designed by Fred Barnard. He was the winner of our contest for when we were first coming out with, it was before Relics and Ruins and Tombs and Tomes. We held a contest and had fans create their own dastardly encounters, some of which we've seen earlier as well. But Fred was the absolute winner. He remains a huge fan of the game, and Werebore is the card that I think not only is it my favorite, but I think partly it's my favorite because it seems to be such an amazing fan favorite too. And the reason is clear. It creates this moment of narrative drama. It's a wonderful bit of storytelling for the game. Werebore, when you encounter it, when you get hit, you end up having to draw one of the 5 cards that comes with this encounter, which says, "Are you a Werebore?" And of course, all of them but one say, "No, you haven't been infected." But one of them does. It says, "Yes, you are a Werebore." So unbeknownst even to you, because this stays face down throughout the rest of the game, you have become not the winner of the game, but the final villain of the game. You are going to be the final encounter. They have to redo the fight with Werebore, and they're going to be trying to kill you as you have transformed. If you kill the entire party, you win. It's not about the prestige anymore. So you get to beat your friends down and win for killing the entire party. And the moment of revelation where, depending on how the prestige has gone, am I leading, but I was attacked? Am I the Werebore? Or if I'm not winning and maybe they were hit, maybe they're already dead. I don't have to worry about that. I just have to worry about killing them one last time, and then I'm the prestige leader. Like, all these amazing things start happening, and the drama of that reveal is so great. This is why I think it is absolutely my favorite. It's a fan favorite. Hopefully it's one of yours as well. Yeah, so did I not mention one of your favorites? Put it down here below. If you've got a top 1 or 2 that you've got time, you can just drop in the bottom. Go ahead, put them in the bottom. Now you've seen my list. I see Jonathan has posted his list. He's got a top 10. So top 10 was Rebeast. Oh, that's pretty cool. Wrath, Envy, Mercury, Cursed Goblin, Archmages, Pride, Gasbag, Death, Werebore. That is a really, really solid list. A lot of those were on my list as well. So yeah, kudos to you. I think that's an awesome list. Let's see. Yes, Jonathan's very surprised that Gasbag did not make my list. It was tough because obviously Gasbag is the only creature you don't want to kill. I don't know why that didn't make my list. You're right. It is a favorite one, but I feel like it's more like a road bump encounter. No one's probably going to lose the game. It's fun, it's dramatic, but it's probably not going to be, the most dramatic in the thing. That's probably why I didn't drop it on my list, but I do love that one as well. Cool. Well, I don't see any more comments out there with other people's thoughts and lists. We've got a couple more minutes if you want to drop it on there. Meanwhile, hopefully you enjoyed this run through of my top 10. You will notice, by the way, as I'm sure you did, that on my list of 120 plus creatures, there were 7 that came from Death Incarnate. That is our 5th expansion. It came out just really a couple of years ago. And I don't know that it did a lot of fanfare. For my money, that is like one of the most important expansions. You know, you could say Relics and Ruins for the fact that it introduces the event deck and the relics for the first time. I think that's, you know, absolutely valid. But there is something amazing about Death Incarnate. The quality of the encounters, the quality of the relics and events, everything is all about the incarnation types and creatures, even the relics and the events. It is the most synergistic, it's the most well-themed, and it's got some of the most powerful encounters and scenarios that I think any of the sets. It is now my top expansion. Probably coming right behind that is actually Relics and Tombs. But I don't think nearly enough people have discovered Death Incarnate, and it has amazing content that if you have not cracked open this box, do yourself a favor. It is stellar. So Jonathan Loveley, he's the creative mastermind behind that. And man, hats off to you. You took what was really kind of my dream child and just breathed so much new life into it. I can't thank you enough. And to the fans as well, because as I mentioned, 2 of my expansions, both Relics and Tombs, were based on everyone's ideas. In fact, you know, we were looking for like one cool creature that we're going to include in an expansion, and we had so many amazing ideas from fans that after workshopping them a bit, we end up creating 2 amazing expansions just based on fan ideas. So thank you again for those amazing works and ideas. It's been a wonderful time developing this game, seeing it doing so well, and even to this day, still doing amazingly well. I don't think there's really another game like it on the market, and hopefully it is one of your favorites. Okay, well, that is our time. Thanks so much for joining us. Again, like or subscribe to whatever portal you are looking through, and please join us next time for another edition of Smirky Inside. We'll talk to you then. All right, bye-bye.